All right, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Around the Bases. I'm Chris Gonzo Gonzalez, and I'm joined by Jay McLovin this morning. We're going to talk some baseball. How you doing, Jay?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic, man. Last night was a little rough with the Astros, man. Montero. He just,
I told you yesterday I was a little worried about Cueto because I know Cueto can be tough sometimes when he's on.
it wasn't Cueto that beat us. We were beating Cueto.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, Cueto. Man, he was. I'm not gonna say he was a non-factor, but he really wasn't.
He
That's
didn't
not what
he
beat
didn't have a
us.
great game.
Our bull. No, we well. So okay, so it was 2-0 going into the bottom of the eighth. Astros on top. Cueto's out, and we put Montero in there in the bottom of the eighth, and he gave up 4 runs in the eighth, man. And then that was it. Game over, man. It wasn't Cueto that beat us. It was freaking Montero and his damn pitching, man. I was like, son of a. I was so mad at Dusty last night because when they got the bases loaded, we had bases loaded 2 outs, and I'm like, Dusty, pull Montero. He clearly doesn't have it tonight. Pull Montero. And he didn't, and they gave up 4 runs, and then he throws in Maton after that, and Maton strikes the guy out, the next guy up, and I'm like, why did we put Maton in about 3 batters ago?
Isn't it crazy how sometimes how managers sometimes they'll be real quick to take a pitcher out, and then when you think they should take a pitcher out, it's like no, they'll leave him in for three or four more batters. It's like what are you guys? Sometimes it's like what are you
Yeah,
guys
I don't
over?
under I don't know.
Are you watching the same game I'm sitting here on TV watching?
Yeah, I'm like, and the thing about it was when he had 2 outs, Montero got off to a decent start, but then I think he either hit a pitch, he either hit a guy or walked a guy, and then okay, so this guy on first, no big deal. Then the guy gets on second off a single, guy gets on third on a single, and I'm like, okay, yo, before we let this out of hand, we only need 1 out. At some point, put somebody else in, and like you said, man, and then even after the guy got the double, which made it 2-2, I'm still like, yo, before this gets worse, put
Yeah,
put Maton in or put somebody in. And of course, then the next guy hits a double, and I'm just like, okay, I guess at this point, Dusty's just ready to go down with the ship at this point. So, and that's what happened. But yeah, Cueto was really a non-factor. It was just Montero that got us in a. It was Montero and Dusty Baker, not pulling Montero, that cost that game for the Astros. Astros really should have won last night, but again, poor execution on the manager, poor execution on Montero, and that just doomed us, man. It was just crazy. Like your Quiddy pitched a gem, went all the way into pitched 7 solid innings, gave up no runs, 4 or 5 strikeouts. I think 3 or 4 hits. I mean, couldn't ask for a better night from him, and it was just Astros Montero that killed him.
did they when Baker didn't pull Montero, had he already pitched to his minimum of three batters?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. He had pitched. Yeah, when they pulled him, he had pitched to like 8 or 9 batters.
Oh, okay.
They damn near went to the whole damn rotation and the bottom of the eighth, and I'm yelling at the whole time, pull him, and I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was thinking. I guess maybe he was trying to let Montero work out of it, but I'm like, bro, if he was going to work out of it, he would have worked out of it by the middle of the rotation. Now you're
Yeah.
going to let him get to the end of the rotation, and we're still, he's still not worked out of it. At what point do you pull him?
Yeah.
And
How long
yeah,
do you gonna let him try to work out of it?
yeah, like there's only so long you can let a guy go, especially when like you said, you're at the bottom of the eighth. You're not going to have too many chances if you get. I don't understand, man. I don't know. I mean, my analytical mind is like, okay, I need 4 outs. I'm up 2-0, and I got bases loaded on the other team, or the other team's got us down by bases. I'm like, bro, it's not a hard equation to work out. Pull the guy, give
Yeah.
somebody else the opportunity. I mean, what a
It's,
time to be alive, Gonzo. What a time to be alive.
what a lot was happening in baseball last night, and then
Huh?
the
You know what? And I think I would have broke my TV had I realized that was the only TV I had. and I got like $42 in the bank. So I'm not gonna break my TV, but I really wanted to break the TV. So I blew out for a 10-mile walk, and he got pissed. I don't know.
Yeah, we had a lot going on. You had the Dodgers suffered a big blow with
Yeah,
Walker Bueller. Uh, is it
that was huge.
was it an arm injury?
Elbow. Yeah.
Elbow. Ooh, probably Tommy John, I would say.
No, that's what's crazy. Well, yeah, it probably is. But what's crazy about the whole scenario is when the Dodgers drafted Bueller out of Vanderbilt, he had Tommy John surgery. He'd already gotten Tommy John, and now he's got another elbow injury. They did an MRI on it. The doctor doesn't know quite the full extent of what the injury is, but he knows it's going to require surgery. So they're not going to really know fully, I guess, what they're dealing with until they go in there and the doc sees what he's really got. Either way, Bueller's 28. He's already had one Tommy John. My thought process is twofold. Number one, he's done for the season. Jonathan Mathis, please, if you need a friend to talk to, call me. I'm always available for you. I'm here 24/7. Frankie for the Yankees. You guys lost last night too. I think you've lost 12 or two out of you lost
10 of,
what?
10 of their last
You're on
12.
12. What was it? You've lost. It was 9 out of 11. Now it's 10, so you lost 10 out of 12. Um, so if you guys want to call me, the Astros are always here for you. We will take you in. Um, but at the same time, man, so Bueller's done. If he goes in for surgery, what's he gonna come? Okay, you lost him for the season. That's not really so much the devastating. I mean, it's devastating, but the devastating news for me is the unknown factor of after a Tommy John. Now you got this surgery. What's he gonna be like when he comes back? Next year or the year after. Is he going to be the same Bueller, the same dominating pitcher, or is he going to be effective? Because you got to imagine two types of major surgeries like that. You know, he's still mortal. At some point, he's mortal. He's not immortal. So you got to
Yeah.
imagine it's going to have some sort of impact on him.
Yeah. And I know a lot of pitchers come back better after Tommy John, but if he has to have a second Tommy John surgery, I mean, who knows how he's going to come back? I mean, that could be tricky if you already had it once and you have to get it done again. Uh, how good will the results be? I mean, is there enough stuff? And I don't know how it all works, but I'm sure they have to have enough good tendons and stuff to be able to reconnect and everything back together. So I would think the more times you have to do it, the harder it is to get it done where there's a more of a chance of full recovery.
And to use another analogy, I have a really good friend of mine that played for the Houston Rockets. Back in the '90s when Barkley and Olajuwon and all them were there, and he told me on a show one time, he's like, Jay, a person only has so many jumps in their system before they do major damage or before their career is over with. You only have so many jumps before your career is done. And I feel like that same analogy, transcends into a pitcher. You only have so many throws in your body, before your career is done. And you already know, like you said earlier, he already went through Tommy John. Now he's gonna have to, if he does have to have a second Tommy John, you got to wonder to yourself, well, how many more pitches does this guy have after you've torn into the body this many times, like how much longer can he possibly go? Now, that's the bad news for him. The good news, if there is good news for the Dodgers, is that Dustin May is getting ready to come off the injured list. So Dustin May can slide into Bueller's spot and keep that rotation going. I got to imagine that Kershaw is going to be coming back, here pretty soon off his injury. My only question for that process is one, when Kershaw comes back, we still got what 40 some odd games left in the season. How's he going to look, getting into postseason? Now he will have the bye if they maintain the top spot in the NL. They'll have that bye week, which that extra rest will help them. But at the same time, back issues are back issues, and for a pitcher, backs are horrible. This is about as bad as a damn arm. So I'm wondering how effective is Kershaw, number one, going to be when he gets back. Number two, can he stay healthy to get to the postseason? And number three, what's Dustin May going to look like coming back off injury? Again, these are all questions that the Dodgers, which has the best ERA in baseball, is going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and thanks, Jr. Appreciate it. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Uh, yeah, and it's kind of strange if you think about it. Best team in the NL going into the All Star break was the Dodgers. Yankees were right up there as one of the hottest teams in the league going into the All Star break, and now the Dodgers just suffered a big injury blow, and the Yankees have been on a skid, losing 10 of their last 12 games, and they've had a few injuries. Some of your top teams that were looked like they were cruising in the first half of the season are now they're starting to hit some of their struggles in the season. It's going to be interesting to see how they can respond, or can the Astros run away with the AL with the Yankees skidding? Are the Mets going to take over the Dodgers? You know, I mean, it's really going to be interesting this year. I think as we get closer to October.
Yeah, and again, you just talked about the Mets, and again, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you had Carrasco, leave last night's game with tightness in his side. And now what does that mean for Carrasco? I don't know. I mean, tightness in the side could be minor. He may be back pretty soon. I mean, we don't really know. So the full extent of Carrasco is not really known yet. But again, they lost pretty heavily to the Braves last night, 13-1. And we're gonna wait to see what Carrasco comes back with. But yeah, man, I think we were talking about this before the show started that injuries are going to be huge. I think injuries are going to be the biggest thing going into the postseason. Whose team's going to be the healthiest at this point? We know the Yankees are banged up. We know the Dodgers are banged up. Now we're starting to see the Mets take on a hit or two. So yeah, I mean, and I think that's what like I said earlier. That's what I like about Dusty is the fact that Dusty is giving his guys rest periods, so they're taking games off in the rotation to keep them healthy. And number two, the Astros got 6 pitchers deep, all of which have an ERA of around 3 or less. Two of them are pretty close to under 2 or less. So the Astros are deep in their bullpen. They're deep in their starting pitching. So I think the way Dusty's doing it is the way that probably that the Dodgers and Mets need to do it is give their guys rest, to keep them healthy. Because at this point, the way the Dodgers and Mets are going, I mean, they could run into some serious issues. And we can see the damn Cardinals or the Padres in the damn World Series just
or
because
the
of injuries alone.
or the Braves again.
Hell, the Reds might even make it in there. Damn it.
That's not going to happen. But hey, no, seriously, the Braves. People better not forget about the Braves either. They're a dangerous team.
Man, I done told you. I don't never discount the damn
Hey,
Braves.
and they beat the hell out of the Mets last night, 13-1. I wasn't
Oh,
expecting that. I got
absolutely,
that game wrong.
absolutely. Hey, not to really, piss Frankie off, man, but and not to add insult to injury, but outside of the fact that, we own the Yankees this season 5-2, and the fact that he's going through major injuries and the fact that he's gone, 10 out of 12 in the loss column. And then to add insult to injury, we beat them in the 2015, 17, 19, and soon to be 21. Seasons. I mean, hey, listen, how good is it to be an Astros right now, and how sad must it be to be a New York Yankees fan?
Well,
I'm not trying to add insult to injury, Frankie. Don't hate me.
well, Frankie said it's embarrassing. It's an embarrassing moment to be a Yankees fan. That was after he said "fuck the Yankees" and apparently we forgot how to play baseball. But yeah,
I just
Frankie, hey, that's not embarrassing. What's embarrassing is when your team starts 1 for like 23.
well, you know what was
That's
interesting,
when it
Frank.
gets. That's when it gets real damn embarrassing. Is when your team goes a month and only wins one game. That's what my team did earlier this year.
See, now Frankie's upset. He's so mad at me right now. He's so mad at me. But we've owned him so many times. I mean, you tend to the years tend to blend. We've owned them so bad.
What do you?
But no, but Gonzo. The thing about it is, I don't know if you saw the Yankees game last night, but Rizzo, the ball was coming in, and Rizzo, I guess I don't know what he thought, but he tried to. He kind of leaned back with his upper body, but then he stuck his leg forward, and when he stuck his leg forward, the ball hit him. He got pissed off because he thought that he got hit. The hit by the pitch was on him. But then the umpire says, "Hey, you put your leg out there. That wasn't a hit by pitch. You intentionally did that. So then he calls him out or something. Reza goes back to the dugout, and you can just see him behind the manager taking his helmet, just banging the crap out of it. And the guy goes, I don't think this is so much about him being called out for the pitch thing. I think it's just because the Yankees, have just gone through such a rough patch since the All-Star break that you can see it's wearing down on him.
See, I'm not real worried about the Yankees. Though I think they'll get back in their groove. Every team usually has a rough patch, and they really didn't have that rough patch in the first half of the season. And now they're having it. They just gotta hope. Yankees fans just gotta hope it don't go too long. Like they ain't no like they don't end up losing like 18 out of 20 or something. But I mean,
Gonzo, now just stop trying to make you feel better. Just tell the truth. Listen, listen. The best thing you could do is rip the band-aid off and let the healing process begin. You're just trying to tear it off slowly so Frankie feels, but don't do that.
no, I picked at the beginning of the season Mets and Yankees in the World Series. So I'm just trying to give myself a little hope that my pick might still be alive.
Now, let me ask you this though. So
Re-
let's if we
Well,
make
real quick, Jay. Frankie says it's their bullpen. He said they have injuries in the bullpen, and that's what's the problem's been for the
well, that's
Yankees.
one of the problems. That ain't the only problem. That's one of the other problem is the fact that you guys are having struggles on your offense too. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. Anthony Rizzo is hitting 220. Um, your what do you call it? Your batting average as a team is around 244. I mean, you guys aren't hitting the ball, and you're not putting runs up on the board either. So for example, he is right when he says the bullpen's an issue, but also their ERA is an issue. Their ERA has ballooned up to 4 in the starting rotation. Their ERA has ballooned up to over 4 in their bullpen, and they're not putting up the runs. So if you're giving up runs and you're not scoring runs, that's your issue. So yeah, Frankie's right. He's not wrong when he says it. And part of it is injuries. I get it. Carpenter was a big bat for you guys, and he went down with a fractured foot. Then you had Stanton on the injury list as well. So I get that. I'm not disputing that. But it's everybody else in your rotation that you brought in there that you guys were so hyped up on that's not doing as well as what they should be. To the point of, if I may, I believe it was, and I had it. Yeah. So right now you got Holmes, which is your closer, who's basically in 38 appearances at the beginning of the season only gave up 2 earned runs. But in his last 9 appearances, he's given up 10. So you're right about your bullpen in terms of them not getting the job done. Then, like I said, you're batting 244 on offense. Donaldson is batting 224. Rizzo's batting 220. And I can't say that. His Shioka, that Japanese guy, he's batting 197. And La Castro's batting 176. That's like 4 of your guys in your rotation that are basically 224 batting average or less. That means you guys on base percentage is .300. And when you try to do that against your ERA of 4 or better, I mean that's why you're struggling like you're struggling.
He said Rizzo got put on the IL like 3 times.
Yeah, and like again, and that could be an issue as to why his batting average is so low. Um, but again,
Oh,
let me ask you a question. Not to sort of up the Yankees, and I don't want to make Frankie feel so much worse. I mean, I'm already worried about the guy. I'm gonna give him a call later and touch base with him, make sure he's okay. But no, can we look at San Diego just for a brief moment? I look at Tatis, and and Price said it doesn't really matter and things like this, but Tatis says that he took the medication for ringworm. His dad says it was a spray that he did, and it was for some kind of fungus that he was dealing with. So I'm like, bro, get your story straight. What is it? Is it ringworm? Is it fungus? Either way, and if it's a spray, how does a spray get into your body as a steroid? It makes absolutely no sense to me. So and I think his dad's making it worse. for him trying to, and I guess he's trying to speak on his son behalf, trying to save his reputation, whatever. But that whole
Yeah.
Tatis thing is just getting uglier by the minute. I think
I think it
Tatis
was
just needs to come
more.
out and say it.
I think it was more the dad didn't know all the details and was trying to, because you know how it can be. You can talk to your parent on the phone and they might get, and then they go to tell the story to somebody and they forget a few things and just add, and they can add something. So I think it probably was something he was trying to get rid of ringworm with, but it's still no excuse, because once you get on a team, they they give you a list. The NFL has a list of stuff you can't put in your body, or Major League Baseball does. Take that list to your personal doctor, and you shouldn't have to worry about it. And I just don't think
Yeah,
enough. I don't think enough players do that.
and I said this earlier, man. Look, this is your livelihood. You know, you got to know what you're putting in your body. Your body's your instrument, right? Your body's your instrument. Without your body, you can't do what you're supposed to do to make money. So if your body's your
Yeah,
instrument, why would you not, invest time in researching how you're taking care of this instrument so that it complies, with the demands of your job? You know what I'm saying? I don't quite understand that. Frankie says he has time. You got about 40 games, Frankie. How much time do you think you have? You got about
but
40, 42 games.
hey Jay, let me ask you this: the Seattle Mariners, how dangerous can the Mariners be when you get in them if they get in the playoffs and getting a playoff series with they got a great pitching staff. They just, you never know about their bats, but if their bats get hot, they could be a scary team to have to face in a 5 game series, or even a 7 game series in the playoffs.
No, I definitely agree with you. I think, depending on who they play, right?
Yeah,
Um, we know that Seattle last go around handled the Yankees pretty damn well. Matter of fact, I think they won the series the last go around with them. I have to go back and double check that, but I'm pretty sure they won the series with the Yankees last go around. If they play the Yankees, I think the Yankees, given the current condition that the Yankees are in, unless they turn it around, unless those injuries come back and they get that and they right the ship, you know, the Mariners could very well be, the Atlanta Braves that spoils the Dodgers, that spoils the Yankees. I mean, that could happen. I think when it comes to the Astros, I think the Astros know how to handle the Mariners. Now we swept them the last almost. I think we beat them like 7 times out of 8, something like that, the last go around. So I think if the Astros play the Mariners, I feel really good about that matchup. Depending on how the Yankees look going into the postseason in terms of their injuries and their ERAs and things of that nature, especially with their bullpen, that could be a little bit more challenging. So I think if I'm the Mariners at this point, going into it as a wild card, I'd much rather match up with the Yankees than I would match up with the Astros. And I think if I'm the Yankees, I'm probably wanting to avoid the Mariners at this point unless I can get my ship righted up. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. If I'm the Mariners, or not the Mariners, if I'm in any of them other teams, if the Mariners make the playoffs, I wouldn't want to play them, especially that first playoff series, just because they haven't been in the playoffs for like what 20 years. So if they make it to the playoffs, they're going to be high. That team's going to be hype. You know, what I mean, everybody's going to be fired up for it, and their fan base is going to go crazy because they haven't been in uh the playoffs for so long. So they could get some momentum. So they could. I wouldn't want to play them in the first round. That's for sure. If they make the wild card, I wouldn't want to have the Mariners in the first round, just because I think they could get some momentum uh, from that crowd. And we've seen it before. A team can get some momentum and get hot, and it just like everything falls in place for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and that's what I'm thinking. And I know Frankie's, it's look, you're acting like the Astros can lose most of their September games, and Yankees turn around when those players come back. Just saying, even if the players come back, though, look, even when those players were there, even when Rizzo was there, even when Severino, I can't remember when Severino got hurt. I know it was after the All Star break, but if you look at the Yankees have a losing record after the All Star break. They just do. And the Astros have a winning record since the All Star break. So, again, I'm not trying to say the Astros are better than the Yankees, but honestly, right now we are because, again, injuries. And, the injuries are really plaguing the Yankees and also their mindset. isn't quite right. And you can see that in the way that Rizzo handled last night. You can see that the Yankees are clearly, a distracted team mentally, but they're also, dealing with injuries. And that's a hard thing to write. Look, I'm not saying they can't do it, but you got 42 damn games to get your mental state right and to get your ERA back on point. You got 42 damn games. So you better hope they can, because honestly, those 42 games go quick. I'm just saying. And you don't know how these guys are coming back off injury. I mean, look, I'm just saying. I mean, oh, what a time to be alive in baseball. What a
Oh,
time.
it's go I'll tell you what, I think this baseball season, because you got more, I think you got some more teams that could actually be in the mix. So I think as it gets closer to September or toward the middle of September, end of October, this might be one of the more interesting baseball seasons. Maybe seeing who's going to be in what playoff spots that we've had in the last few years. Just because I think you have teams like the Braves and you have teams like Seattle. So I think it's going to be one of the more interesting Septembers and Octobers in Major League Baseball that we've had here recently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, let me ask you this, because things pop in my head. When it comes to Aaron Judge, right now he's got, I think it's 46 home runs. We got about 42 more games left in the season. So he's about, what was it? So he's got 46. I think he hits 61. He's not far off of 61. But do you think that he hits 77, which would have to take to beat Bonds in a single season home run?
I, I don't think he's going to get to 77. Uh, I do think he has a shot to getting to 61, and that'd be what, Maris.
Yeah,
If I,
if he gets 61, he would tie Maris. If he
okay, yeah,
gets
Maris.
62, then he would pass Maris.
Yeah,
And I've often said that, I understand Barrett Bonds holds it at 77, McGuire had it at whatever, Samson. But I still have, because Maris was steroid free, I still have that 61 as my true number. I understand 77 is the one that's on the books, but for me, that true number is still 61. And I think, in my opinion, that if Judge can get to 62, I think he's, in my opinion, I think he's still the real AL or the real home run king, because he did it without roids.
yeah. Dustin said Bonds has had a 73,
All
not
right, I might be
77.
off by 4, so I
But
apologize.
still,
But yeah,
I don't think he gets to 73. I think because that'd be 30 something more home runs in these last 40 games. I mean, I guess it could happen, but I think he has a solid chance of passing Maris at getting maybe 61, 62, somewhere around there. But if he's at 40 something now, man, to hit 30 something more home runs, he'd have to go on. I mean, he'd have to be hitting almost a home run a game
so that's 27. He needs 27 home runs.
in the next
He would need,
40
he
or
needs
50
27
games.
runs. So he would have to basically get a home run every other game in order to pass Barry Bonds, and that's really hard to do, man.
Yeah.
To get one every other game and stay consistent like that, or whatever the case may be, that's gonna be really hard. I do think he can tie Maris or beat Maris. Man, what a time to be alive.
Frankie says with the way the Yankees are playing, he bets he gets 59, maybe less.
I mean, it's
And the
possible.
other thing is injury. I mean, Judge has been injury prone in the past. He's been pretty healthy this year, but hopefully he stays healthy because the Yankees lose him, they'll be in big trouble.
Speaking of injuries, speaking of Judge, he's up for contract. Judge is up for contract. He's 30 years old. He's up for contract. He's going to want the big payday. He's probably going to want a massive payday. Number one, do you think the Yankees give it to him? And number two, is he going to be worth that massive extension at 30 years old? Given that he may have some injury issues here and there. Now, Frankie was right that he didn't. My knack on Judge was his chase rate, but as Frankie pointed out, and I saw that stat, he got his chase rate down from, I think, 27 to 29% down to like about 18%. So he's gotten better on his chase rate. But is he going to be worth all the money that he's going to want to get paid?
I think the Yankees are going to pay him.
Yeah.
They're going to keep him there. I think the Yankees messed up by not getting the deal done before this season started. They because the way he's playing this season, especially the way he's hitting, they cost themselves some money because now his price is going to even go up more than what it would have been. But I think the Yankees get some kind of deal with Judge. You can't, especially a franchise like the Yankees. You can't let a guy like that just walk out, lose him because you don't want to pay him. Because the Yankees have always been known for spending money. You know what I mean? They've always
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
so
No doubt about it at all.
yeah. I think they pay him and keep him there. Uh, Whether he'll be worth it or not, it's all going to depend on if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, I think yeah, uh, he'll be worth it. But we've seen guys get paid and then have a lot of injury trouble. But hopefully, I like watching Judge play, so hopefully he can stay healthy so he can play for a while. But I mean, it's going to be a lot of money. It's not going to be cheap, but I do think the
Yeah.
Yankees do it. Yankees aren't like my Reds, where if somebody wants paid, they ship them off.
Oh, absolutely. No, I definitely agree with that. And again, I don't, I don't know how that's going to work out in terms of who the Yankees would have to play. But I was just kind of looking at the wild cards and things of that nature. So Seattle right now is the top wild card right now. It's 63 and 54. They're at the top of the wild card spot. Then you got Tampa Bay and Toronto tied right underneath them. And how do we talked about how the Seattle Mariners and how they would face up against the Yankees. I wonder how Toronto or Tampa would face against them as well. And then you got Baltimore, which is really weird. It's a game and a half behind those guys, even though I don't really take Baltimore all that seriously. But still, Baltimore is ahead of Minnesota, which is really crazy because Minnesota was top of their division.
And the Rays are one of them teams. If they get their bats get hot, they could be a scary team as well. Just
Yeah,
because they have pretty good pitching.
yeah, and that's my thought process too, because Tampa Bay, I believe played Houston last year, if I'm not mistaken, in the ALCS. We got there, and they actually played. Tampa always plays Houston pretty damn tough. And so that would be a team that I'd be kind of worried about for Houston to go up against because I know Tampa always plays Houston, pretty close. So that would be a team for me to watch out for in these playoffs would be Tampa. I'm not really so much worried about Toronto. Not that I'm not trying to knock Toronto, but in my opinion, I think Tampa out of those two teams, I think Tampa's the better out of those two.
Yeah, Toronto's just been too inconsistent.
Yeah, yeah, they
You
have
know what I
definitely
mean?
been
They'll go on a run and look like okay, here's the Blue Jays team that we thought we were going to see, and then they go back looking like they did toward the beginning of the season, where it's like who are these guys? This ain't what Toronto should be. If you look on because if you look at the lineup on paper, man, they should have a hell of a lineup with Springer and Guerrero Jr. You got Bichette, Henderson. I mean, they ain't like their lineups terrible. Uh, I know Springer's returning to the lineup tonight so, in the DH role, so that'll help. That'll help Toronto getting Springer back. But
yeah,
yeah,
no doubt about it.
I just
And I
don't
and
trust.
I'm go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just don't trust Toronto yet going deep in the playoffs just because they haven't been that consistent. I think the Rays have been a little to me. I don't know. I just think the Rays. I trust the Rays a little more than I do Toronto.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's my thing. Springer, throughout the whole season, he's been kind of on and off, out of that injury list with those guys.
Yeah,
And so I don't know how effective Springer's going to be all the way down the pipe because he's kind of been in and out of that injury list.
I think that's why
Um,
they're just using him as a DH when they're bringing him back, trying to bring him back slow, hoping that
they
you
really
know what I
should.
mean?
Springer's a hell of a talent, man. When that
Yeah,
guy's on, he can really jack the ball up. You know what I mean?
especially in clutch situations too. He's
Oh, I've
clutch.
seen Springer. I've seen Springer and Correa in clutch situations. Just do amazing things. And look at what Correa kind of has done for Minnesota. I mean, he's really been a good influence over there in Minnesota, and I think you can see that. So God, I don't really miss Correa so much, only because Pena and Correa right now, have pretty much identical numbers. Their numbers aren't really that much different, and we get Pena at a cheaper price. But I kind of like the attitude that Correa brings to a team, the spunkiness, the spark. I mean, those intangibles I think that Correa brings, and I think Springer brings those same intangibles too as well to a team that can really spark your team up. So we talk about the five-tool baseball player, but sometimes there's six tools, and that sixth tool is what does he mean to the clubhouse? How does he spark his other teammates and get them ready?
Oh no, yeah, I agree. In the National League, let's talk a little bit about the National League because we've been talking mostly American
Yeah.
League so far. National League, yeah, of course, you have the Dodgers up at the top. Uh, After the Dodgers, you have I would say I like the Mets to win the National League. I know they did take a blow maybe with Carrasco maybe being out a little while. We'll see what happens with that, but I still like the Mets. But what what would be your sleeper team in the National League that you could see making some noise in the playoffs? Uh,
Yeah. So right now the Mets are what 6 games back of LA. Um, LA just came off a 9-1. Um, last 10 they went 9-1, and
And they
Mets
won
went
last
eight and
night.
two.
So
But 6 games back, I mean, 42 games. I mean, it's absolutely plausible. And again, I think with Bueller being lost for the season and Kershaw still on the IL, we don't know how he's going to come back. I mean, it's absolutely doable. I mean, they still have a very potent lineup, but the Mets, I mean, they had their lineup as well. So it's not to say that they can't close that 6 game gap. I mean, they're in second place overall in the league. I believe the Astros are a half a game. They're a half a game back of the Mets in third place in the full league. So all three of those guys are pretty close. I was looking at their schedule, and I don't see the Mets playing LA at all um, throughout the remainder of this season. So when I look at what they do have, they have Milwaukee, which I mean Milwaukee can give you some fits, but then they got Miami, which is Then they go back to Milwaukee, then they go back to Miami. Oh, excuse me. No, I apologize. Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm looking at the wrong schedule. I'm looking at the Dodgers schedule. So I apologize. Let me rephrase that. The Mets do play the Dodgers. They play the Dodgers August 30th, 31st, and then September 1st. So that 3 game homestand, oh my goodness, man, that's gonna be insane, Gonzo. That's gonna be for me. That's gonna be the telltale sign of who the better team is how they play um, in that. And actually, they're playing in LA, so they're gonna have to go on the road. And no, excuse me, I apologize. No, it's at New York. Jeez, I'm all over the place. It's at New York. So LA is going to have to go to New York on a 3 game stand. I'm curious to see how they do that because if they're down by 6, if they can pull 2 games out of that and get them down to about, I mean, however well they play New York could be an indicator for how well they play in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, yeah,
Wow, what a time to be alive.
yeah, definitely. I think a team like the I don't know if the Mets will catch the Dodgers for the number one seed or not, but I do like I think the Braves are a team that could be scary in the playoffs coming out of the National League that uh could be a wild card team that's scary. The Cardinals, because Cardinals just they always I don't know they're just a gritty team. They hang. It seems like they hang around in games and give themselves a chance. But other than them two, I don't know who else in the National League that I think would because I don't trust the Padres. Uh, Especially now that you're not getting
Yeah.
Tatis back. I mean, even without Tatis, they have a hell of a lineup with Soto and everybody now, but for some reason, it just don't seem like they've been able to put together. Uh,
Well, let's not look past a couple of other teams though too. Philadelphia is about to get Harper back,
that's
and
true.
Philadelphia has been kind of doing things their own way too. I mean, they've been playing pretty good baseball, so I don't want to I don't want to knock out Philly. I
Yeah.
don't want to knock out Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta.
Yeah, I
Um,
mentioned Atlanta, but I didn't mention the
yeah.
Phillies. I meant the
I mean,
Phillies
honestly, St.
too.
Louis with
Yeah.
Goldsmith and so forth. I mean, those are a little bit more outside the box type teams. Philly and St. Louis, but Atlanta and New York. I mean, the Dodgers don't have a clear cut path to the World Series. They just don't, especially with losing Bueller and Kershaw on the list. I don't think they have a clear cut. Oh my God, yes, this is the dominant team. They're going to be the World Series. I don't see that. I still see a team that can be beat, and I see a team that has their own, starting rotation issues. So, I don't want to knock. I mean, I'm not going to look past Atlanta. I'm going to tell you right now, because last year the Dodgers were the favorites to go to the World Series, and Atlanta came out of nowhere and took them out. So again, I don't want to look past Atlanta. I made that mistake last year.
And Dustin said Cardinals are about to go on a big run. That's what I mean. You can't ever count the Cardinals out just because they're a gritty team, man. I've seen it so many times. They'll hang around and they'll hang around, and they'll finally get that big hit that they need. They, I don't know, just something about the Cardinals. They know how to win close games. So yeah, they're a team that if you have to play them early in the playoffs, you're definitely a little bit worried about it, just because you know that they're going to be they're going to be scrappy and ready to go.
Yeah, and again, one thing about baseball is, you know, I think it's going to depend on two things. Number one, like we said earlier, who's going to be the healthiest team going into the playoffs, and number two, who is going to be riding that momentum wave going into the playoffs. So
Yeah,
if you're on that,
who peaks
if
at the
you're on
right
that low
time.
end going in, that could be an issue. But if you're riding that high going in, and the mental state of your clubhouse is riding that high, I mean that's a big thing. And also your team's ability to fight when the chips aren't always in their favor is going to be a huge thing. So you know, whoever has the most fight in that team, which I think to Dustin's point, St. Louis has a lot of fight in that team, so that could work in their favor.
I know this is a little bit different subject, but Major League Baseball needs to do something about these umpires.
Yeah,
I don't know how some of these guys ever passed the umpiring test to become a Major League Baseball umpire, because you see some of these strike zones that these guys have, and it's like, how the hell did you even get a job as an umpire?
and the strike zone isn't the same for every batter. Like I swear, I feel like they call certain strikes to certain batters, and then they call certain types of strikes to other batters. I don't think they have, you know, I don't think that umpire is calling the same strike for the same
Yeah.
way for every single
And
batter.
that's my
You
thing.
know
I
what I
don't care
mean?
if you're going to give a pitcher a little bit on the edge, a little bit off the edge on the outside. Okay, just make sure you do it for both teams. Be consistent. That's all. All it matters is be consistent. But when you can watch these games, and as the game gets later, you can definitely a lot of times you can definitely see a change in the umpire strike zone. Sometimes it gets tighter, and
Mhm.
sometimes it gets a little bigger. And I mean, yeah, umpires have not been very good at all this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to Frankie's point, we were, man. Me and Frankie were getting so pissed at the way they were calling balls and strikes during our series.
Well, even during the Yankees and Red series, me and Frankie were both like, "Man, these umpires are terrible." And see, and that's the thing. I
Yeah,
agree
he
with
said he's never
I
been a
agree
fan
with
of
Dustin.
robotic umps, but
I've never been a fan of the robotic umps either, but man, the umpires have been terrible this year.
there's a lot of there's two different perspectives to look at, right?
Yeah,
You can say
yeah,
number
I'm not a fan of robotic umps. I think you have to keep people out there, but I just think maybe we got to change the way we're training them or schooling them to where, hey, this is how it needs to be.
right. Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, I see the pros and cons. I see the pros to robotic umps being the fact that you're going to get a consistent strike zone, throughout the entire game all the time. So you don't have to worry about, ball strikes. You know it's going to be consistent. Um, but sometimes, that human element to baseball or to any sport, is still the best, purest way to play the game. I don't know. I
Yeah.
sometimes I just love the old school way of doing things. And
No,
I
I
guess I'm not
agree.
going to lose that, but
I agree with you. I'd much rather have umpires out there than not. Like I don't want the robotic either. I think the human element is like you said, it's a part of the game. But I just would sometimes it's just like, man, there's some calls they miss that you just shouldn't miss.
oh no,
Especially
I
when you
agree.
have
And
especially when you have replay. You have replay and you look at it replay and still get it wrong.
bro, and that's the thing though, right? Like, how do you replay pitches though, man? Because if we
Yeah.
replayed every damn pitch,
Yeah, you can't
good
replay
God, man,
pitches.
the games are already like 3 hours long. Could you imagine if we replayed pitches? We'd be here for days. Could you imagine 200 replays?
Oh yeah, we can't do that. Can't replay them.
No,
But
man. I
I'm
mean,
talking about calls that aren't balls and strikes that they miss sometimes, like at first base or.
right. No, I get that. No, yeah, absolutely. No, no, absolutely. I definitely get that.
But
But I think
the strike zone's been the biggest problem.
it's always been the biggest problem. Hell, everybody knows that. It's because it's always been to the ump's discretion as to who his favorites are or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
They you see in the NBA too though. I mean, even in fouls in the NBA, certain players get fouls, certain players don't get fouls. I mean, it's always that that I still think it kind of goes back to favoritism in some way. You know what I mean? Between certain players.
yeah. Oh yeah, it does. And that's the thing. Like Jay, me and you could go. I can umpire a game behind the plate, and you can umpire a game behind the plate, and our strike zones are going to be different. And I don't mean either one of us was wrong. It just our strike zones aren't going to be exactly the same, and that's
Yeah,
fine. But you just have to be consistent with your strike with what your strike zone is. And I don't think
yeah. No,
some of these
I
umpires
agree.
are.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. 100%. Like I said, like you said, just be consistent with what you're calling. That's the problem is the inconsistencies.
Give the umpires a headset and have some watch the strike zone box radio down to the umpires and give them the call. Now,
Yeah,
I could see that happen. I could see that happening maybe before I think we see the robotic umpires is they have somebody up in the box watching it on video or whatever and help the umpires out. I can see that happening, but
I'm
and I'd
okay
be
with
okay.
that as long as they can streamline the process to
Yes.
where it's an automatic quick call rather than.
Yep.
I just don't want them to slow down the damn game. The game's already long enough. I mean, I just don't want them to slow the process of the game down. I figure if they
Yeah.
slow the game down too much, people are going to lose
Yeah.
interest
You
in
don't want. Yeah.
baseball.
You can't mess up the flow of the game. But if it's in a headset, they should be able to do it pretty quick. Just like, oh, yep, that's a strike. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
as
yeah,
long as they yeah, as long
if
as they
they get where
click
they're
on
having
the
5 minute
game.
conversations about every pitch, then there's going to be a big problem.
Oh God,
Yeah, because
catches and pitchers use.
like Dustin just said here, like they could do something like because the catchers and pitchers use that pitch com now, where they just
Yeah.
press the button. So hell, they probably could do something like that with the umpire.
Where exactly does the pitcher have the earpiece or whatever it is that he's listening? Where is it in his ear or
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in his ear.
it must be really freaking small because I never see it.
Yeah,
Like it must be like
I think it is.
microscopic or something.
I've seen the guys kind of cover the ear to try to hear it sometimes when it's real loud. So
Wow, that's interesting, man. That's interesting. I tell you, man, baseball and technology has really come a long way.
I've seen catchers have it on the arm, and then now I've seen some catchers put it like right on the top of their where their shin guard ends on their leg right there.
Oh, really?
That way they can use their mitt to cover it up, and then they press the button.
Oh, that makes sense. That's what I would do, honestly.
Because
If I was them, that's how I'd
some of
cover
them
it.
would put it on their glove hand on their arm, but then you know what I mean. You can see it. So now, yeah, I've seen them. A lot of them put it on their right there on their top of their shin guard where it ends on their leg, and they can cover it with their glove and press the button.
Yeah, if I was a catcher, I think that's where I would put it. It just to me, it just makes easier to conceal. I think it just makes it more easy. I think it just makes it easier all the way around. Honestly, having it on top of your shin guard.
Yeah,
I'm
I
telling
would.
you,
That's
man.
where I'd rather have it. I wouldn't like anything on my arms.
Yeah, they got enough crap in their arms. You know what? Hey, let me ask you this, man. So you know Otani's up for grabs next year. Ain't no way in hell freaking Anaheim can or Anaheim, the Angels, Los Angeles Angels. I still have a hard time saying that. There's no way they can afford him next year. I mean, I'm just curious as to who you think. Do you think the Yankees are going to be the ones, or the Dodgers are going to be the ones that pulls the string to pay him the money that he's going to want to command?
If he leaves, if he does leave, it'll probably be Yankees or Dodgers because they're the ones that always get the big names that are going to cost a lot. Uh, but man, I don't know what the Angels are going to do. I think it depends on what they decide with Mike Trout.
Yeah, I honestly think that
If
if
Mike,
I'm the Angels, I'm trading him in the offseason. I'm trading him or whenever they consume trade it because you got to imagine. Okay, if I know I can't afford him, I better get some damn prospects for this guy.
well, so I think it depends on what they're going to do with Mike Trout because if they decide to move on from Mike Trout, I think they'll keep Otani.
And just give him the 50 million because I guess without having Trout there and having to pay Trout, then they'll have the 50 million to give
And
to.
with Trout dealing with that back, you know what I mean. So I don't know what they're if they're going to decide that they want to. Who do you want to build your team? Keep building your team around Trout, who has a back injury, or Otani, who's a little bit younger and has been, well, let's face it, he's been available. You know what I mean? He's not hurt. So I don't know what the Angels are going to do yet. But
Well,
I
the
think
one
it's
thing
all
for
going to
sure,
depend on
50,
what they
50
do with.
million.
I think it all depends on what they're going to do, what they decide with Trout. If Trout's going to be, if they think Trout's going to be healthy enough to play, or if what's going to happen.
I just think, man, once you give Otani 50 mil, I mean, you're gonna have to really be frugal with all the other people you bring in because you're not gonna have the money to avoid the cap at that
Damien
point.
said Angels need to sell the whole franchise. Well,
Man,
that's the thing though. There is no salary cap in baseball. So in baseball, they can. It's all up to the owner what the owner wants to spend.
yeah, and I
But
don't
I
think
don't
that
know how much
Angels
the
owner is
Angels
gonna.
owner has to spend because I mean it's not like the Angels are the top team there in Los Angeles. So I mean
I've always kind
I
of
don't know
wondered
how
that. I
well.
mean, when you got two teams playing in the same, city, how does that affect, their revenues? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what I was getting ready to say. I don't know how many people. You know what I mean? How many tickets do they sell for games? I don't watch a whole lot of the Angels games, so I've never really paid attention to like the what it looks like in the crowd. But Dodgers are the team there in LA. So
right. That's it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how
and
Anaheim.
also in LA, their fan base is more. If you're winning, we're there. If you're losing, we're not coming to watch it. You know what I mean? They don't. It ain't like some of the more diehard fan bases. I think LA's more of a kind of there are a lot of fair weather fans there in LA. They go when the teams are doing good. That's when they're all involved and want to go. And the games are everybody's at all the games. When a team's struggling, you don't. Especially in baseball, you see that stadium start to empty a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I can't imagine the Anaheim Angels, having too big of a fan base. Honestly, because of the fact number one that, like you said, the Dodgers are there, and number two, they don't really win a whole lot of games, and so I
The only
just
thing
have a
that
hard
helps them,
time.
what
Huh?
helped them, is they had Trout, and then they got Otani. That's what helped them because people want to go see Otani because he's the closest thing to Babe Ruth that we've seen in
Oh
forever.
yeah.
So you know what I mean. So that's going to
Oh
sell
yeah. No,
tickets.
absolutely,
And then Trout was
absolutely.
considered the best player in the league, so that was going to sell you tickets. So they've had the names to help sell some tickets, but they haven't had the success that would have took it to another level.
Yeah,
But
man. I tell you, that's and that's the thing too is I see it. Like is a lot of these teams' farm systems aren't really doing what they should be doing. I mean, because they're I mean, especially if you're a team like Anaheim, you can't always get the top free agency. You better be developing that farm system. I don't know, 100% what the Angels farm system looks like, but I got to imagine they got to be drafting pretty well because of their record. And I don't even know how does MLB draft work? That's something else I wanted to kind of research on. I know, like in the NBA, if you have a crappy record, the crappier your record, the better your draft spot is. Is that the same way that it works in baseball as well?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. That'll be something I'll have to look into, or I'll ask Dustin tomorrow morning on the show too, because I'm sure Stat Guy probably knows. uh,
Yeah,
that's
he's
something
my guy.
I'll have to look into.
Because I've never actually, honestly, which is really weird to me if you think about it, right? I mean, everybody watches the NFL draft, no doubt. Everybody watches the NBA draft, no doubt. But who the hell ever watches MLB draft?
I
Like,
watched a
there's
little.
no.
I watched a little bit of it this year, but yeah, it's not like the other drafts. You're
But
100.
what I'm
You're
saying
right.
is, like, there's no real advertisement. There's no
No.
like. It's not like highly televised. You know what I'm saying? To where people really get into it.
I remember a time when the Angels had a good coach and fired him because they blamed it on him for losing for losses, and yet they're still losing. Yeah, that that still didn't make no sense to me that they fired their manager when they did. Uh, there had to be something going on that behind the scenes that I don't that the public didn't know about.
It's
Uh,
interesting though too because the Rangers just fired their coaches as well, and they gave the interim coach who has no head coaching experience the reins to the team. So I don't know what Texas is doing there either. But but it's interesting. I think baseball definitely has a lot of challenges, right? And it was why they're losing their relevancy because if they advertised their draft on like ABC, NBC, whatever, or whatever the case may be, ESPN, I don't know, however they do it, but they probably, can start building up their fan. But the fact that nobody really watches the draft, nobody even cares to watch the draft, that just tells you another reason how that baseball is just so out of touch.
yeah, they do a terrible job of marketing themselves. Baseball's marketing to me is terrible. Like I said, a lot of Major League Baseball players, if could walk right by people out in public, and people wouldn't even know who the hell they are.
It's true though, honestly. I mean, I know my Astros, and I know a lot of the major players, the big time players, but some of the smaller players, that don't get a lot of play time or whatever. Yeah, I mean, they could probably walk by me, and I wouldn't, whatever.
It's
I'd
just
probably walk by them; they'd know who I was because I'm hard to forget. But whatever.
yeah, you know what I mean. They don't. I don't know why they don't market themselves better. It just for some reason they haven't changed, and it's crazy because like a lot of these, I'm just seeing some highlights here, and a lot of these ballparks you'll look and it's like, man, that's not. You know what I mean? There's sometimes the stands look kind of empty, but then there's other games that don't get me wrong. There's games that you see the place is packed, but it's just I don't know. I don't know how some of these teams when you like how some of the teams make enough money to pay these players what they do.
Oh, no doubt about it. So, hey, my other question as well is who gets the AL MVP between Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge? Alvarez, I think at one point was in there, and I guess maybe he's kind of taken a sidestep, but now it's looking more like Ohtani and Judge or the 1-2 going at it. Who do you think takes it?
I don't know because it's interesting. I want to see how the writers vote on Otani because of he pitches and hits. How does that go into it when you're looking? Because of course Judge just hits the ball. Yeah, he plays some
Right.
defense, but you know what I mean. So
Oh yeah.
how do you factor that in? How much weight do they put on that Otani does both? It's going to
Yeah.
be interesting. But I think if Judge keeps hitting the ball like he's been hitting, he's going to have a real good shot at winning it.
Yeah, because I mean, on one hand, you got Judge leading the AL in home runs, but again, if you look at Otani as an overall player, I mean, he's got a great batting average, got great on base percentage, and he has his own 25 home runs. But then again, you look at his ERA at around the 2.5 range, and he's got 157 strikeouts. So yeah, I mean, it's almost unfair to judge for the MVP vote because he doesn't play two ways like Otani. So do you give it to Otani just on that own merit? Because if that's the case, then you might as well say he'll get it every damn year. Then
Yeah.
To me, that I think you have to look at you're either going to judge Otani on the Cy Young, or you're going to judge Otani on, and you can even judge him on both. But if you're going to judge him, on hitting, he has to his batting average and home runs on base has to be better than Judge in order to get the AL MVP. Otherwise, he could go get the Cy Young if his pitching, like you almost got to separate him into whatever category you're trying to, rather than as a whole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jay only looks at Judge for home run. He's not only first in home run. Jay, look up more of Judge's stats.
I do look at his damn stats, and he's not leading on base percentage. I don't believe, is it? I don't believe he is. I'm pretty sure Alvarez is over him on that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to
Hey,
let's get
don't
to
worry,
final
Frank. You know
thoughts.
what?
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna do my research on that, and we're gonna compare. That's to be continued.
Yeah, let's get the final thoughts. I know you said you had the appointment this morning as well. What's your final thoughts here, Jay?
My final thought is I hope that dentist goes easy on me because I cry a lot in the dentist chair.
Oh, that's where
Honestly.
you're going as the dentist?
I'm a big bait. Yeah, I gotta go to the dentist, and I'm hoping that she's gentle with me. Last time I went there, she manhandled me. I cried like a baby, and I got kicked out of the chair. So hopefully this time goes better. No, final thoughts for real though. But hey, so last night Yankees lost, Astros lost. I believe the Mets lost. Um, and I believe the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers won. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Did the
Dodgers
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 win?
won. Dodgers won last night.
So right now the Dodgers got another game up on us. I think now right now the Mets are at 6 games back. Astros are at 6.5 games back. And third. So I think tonight is going to be another pivotal night of baseball because of the fact that if I Lord Jesus, if I can get the Braves to pull off another win against the Mets, the Braves are playing the Mets, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if I can get the Braves to get another win against the Mets, and if Astros, Verlander goes up against Cease tonight, so hopefully the Astros will get the win tonight and crush them, and then we can slip into second place and then start trying to go after the Dodgers again for that #1 spot. But man, again, hey, I'm telling you, hey, these last 42 games are going to be intense. And 6 games, Gonzo, is not a lot. I mean, honestly, you can make 6 games up if all the right things go into place. So my final thought is the last 42 games of this season are going to be intense.
Oh yeah, I agree. That I think like I said, I think it's going to be one of the better second half of the season for Major League Baseball that they've had in a long time. Just because I think there's going to be some teams that can make some noise in the playoffs and might surprise some people. Kind of like last year with what the Braves done. We've seen it a few years ago with the Nationals. So I think you could see one of these teams that people are overlooking right now that get hot and make a deep playoff run. But I want to thank everybody for watching the Around the Bases.
One thing.
Oh, go ahead.
One thing. Because Frankie just I see how slick he was. He did it right when you were
Oh,
doing your final thoughts. And I just wanted to address that real quick. If you notice, I said it's between Otani and Judge. I said Alvarez was out of the picture. So just get your facts straight. Okay, I'm done. Get out of here before Frankie tries to slip something else in there. Frankie,
no, but,
hit me in the DMs.
no, I appreciate everybody watching our new baseball show Around the Bases. We started it yesterday and it went real well. I thought today was another great show. I think the stat guy will be back tomorrow. He had a doctor appointment this morning. Uh, Now I know Jay's getting ready to go see his favorite person, the dentist. Oh man, I can't stand the dentist. But
Yeah.
woo. But no, appreciate everybody watching. Please hit that like and subscribe or the subscribe button on YouTube. Like and follow us on Facebook. Follow us on social media, everything at Gonzo Sports Room. And if you're a baseball fan, the season's starting to get into the best part of the season where the games are starting to matter more as we get closer to September. So enjoy that. Everybody stay safe, and we will see you tomorrow morning for another episode of Around the Bases. If I can find the right video here.